Hello and welcome to the top tips for Outpost Infinity Siege. These are some of the things I really wish I knew when I very first started. They're all in a bit of a random order, but you definitely should get something out of this. If you do, please consider liking, subscribing, all the good stuff. Very first tip though, I promise you, it's beautiful. It's probably the very best tip of the whole game, and I'll show you what I mean, and you'll understand, eh? Now, to the untrained eye, you're going to have to look to, I think it's this side, but you won't see it, but we'll have to zoom in. And this only happens the very first time you load into the Nexus. So this is tip number 1, and it's called the jiggles. I don't know if you know this, but the first time you teleport to this, you get the jiggles. And just in case you miss it, here's a zoom in. Absolutely beautiful. Bring back sexy girls to game, I say. Okay, now let's get into it. Now, one of the first things you're probably going to get super confused about when you jump into Infinity Siege is when you go to the Windy Desert and you come across a weird thing with an extension cord that has a little plate that gives a very little description of what the hell you meant to do with it. So we're going to start off with that first because that's the very first thing that I was like, what the hell is this? So Windy Desert, that's the first place you'll be going, and this is the first time you'll come across it. So let's have a look at this. Now, you're going to find this at the abandoned road. Keep in mind that the golden icons on your maps when you're looking in this view generally mean better loot. And if you haven't collected the blueprints, that there's a chance blueprints will be at these locations. So keep that in mind. Okay, so you're walking around and you're collecting stuff, and then what and behold is this contraption. Now, the crazy thing is you go to read this slate, electromatic plug, can be affixed to most surfaces. Put the electro hammer on the plate to charge the connected objects. What the f does that mean? I don't know. To me, what I had no idea. When I found this, I was throwing it on walls. I had no idea what to do. I ran it up to the top of that tower. I ran it over to the other buildings. I had no idea. So what this actually is it's to charge your, give you more power, and you have to connect it to the core of your building. So for me, we can go up here, and if we connect it to the core, I believe you can connect it on any side. So I think we can do that. You might even just be able to connect it to your building. We'll have to do some testing because I haven't actually not played around with this. So we've connected it. I think you just need to connect it to your building in general, but I've connected it to the core. Now we're looking for the electro hammer, which is not a hammer at all. Funnily enough, it is a bloody ball. So you'll have no idea that there's a thing called the electro hammer and that it's a ball until you sort of either look at the name or put the two together. Okay, so here is the electro ball or the electro hammer. So being called a hammer, what does that even mean? It's a round ball. But anyway, what we're going to do with this, we're going to grab this and we're going to throw it into this machine. We're going to grab it, throw it into the machine, and that will charge. We get charging the core. You see what it says? It says it was charging the core. So that turns it on. And you can see on the top left where the cube is, where our power symbol is, that we're getting +3. So that's what this is. It gives you power, but you have to do the steps of connecting the extremely long extension cable to your base or core and then throwing in the hammer. So that's one of those really complexing things at the start that, I don't know, I couldn't figure it out. I had to get some help, and hopefully this will make it a little bit easier to understand for you. But it's a really good way to get some extra power early on in your early game, and as well as anytime you find this on other maps, you'll be able to use this method to get extra power. Power being super critical to your progress in your tours. So the next thing that I found very difficult to understand and wasn't sure what to do with was a point of interest found in the border woodland. Now, understanding this early will really help your touring and your progression. So we're going to have a look at that right now. So let's proceed to the border woodlands. You can select any difficulty to find this point of interest. Now, the point of interest is the forest town. That's where we want to head to be able to take advantage of this very useful addition to help boost your power. So let's go. Let's have a look. So we'll select forest town. Proceed. We're going to go into command mode and we're going to have a look at the map. We're going to have a look at the map because what we're looking for and what we want to understand is, and that is very confusing, is this building right here. You have this thing that will fly away if you get into the building or if you're not quick enough. What is this thing holding? It's holding 2 batteries. We can get in here. You can kind of see it. It's got a battery here on one side and a battery on the other side. Now, what you can do with these is you can grab these, run them back to your base. You can put these into one of your generators and it's going to generate extra power. But initially, when you run up to this, it just flies away. You have no idea what to do with it. So there's a couple ways to approach this situation. It's pretty difficult to destroy it until very much late game when you can really put down some true damage on things. But up until that point, you only have a few different options. The very best option is to use some kind of ammo or bill or buff that will freeze your enemy. Now, you have grenades that can freeze. You have bullets that can freeze. You have ammo. You have types of ammo that can freeze your enemies or opponents. But unless you plan for that, you're going to forget to bring that kind of ammo with you. If you are doing the woodland and you're new, try get some ammo or some sort of method to freeze these guys, because you'll be able to lob a grenade in, freeze it from a distance, or just fire at it and it should freeze it. So that way you can get both batteries. You just have to run around, take one off, throw it away, run around, grab the other one, throw it off, and then it'll take off. But for this example, we're just going to run and grab one of them, hopefully, and then we'll take it back to the base and add it to our battery, and we'll see the extra power that we'll get. Okay, so the trick with this is you got to be very, very quick. We're going to head over, run over. Now, there's a few different ways you can approach it. Some people approach it from the top of the building and they drop down, and that's a good method, and you can still get one that way. Me, I just try to jump on the fence onto the balcony thing there to the stairs and then jump in and just grab one. So we'll try this now. I may stuff it up, but it will give you the idea. So we'll run in, grab one, throw it. Oh, we got two. There you go. Okay, so you can do it that way. We got two, and that's going to really help with your power. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab one and we'll take it back to the base, just to give you an example. So charge it along all the way back to the base, and we just want to try find one of our generators, which you'll find pretty much all over your base depending where you're up to, so we can replace the battery. So we're going to replace the battery, and you'll note again that on the left hand side we get a +3 onto our power, which is huge. These sort of things really help, particularly when you're early game, because power is hard to come by. So we're going to have a look at that right now. So sorry, it's a +1, not +3. I was looking at material, but we get a +1. So you can do the same thing, get the second battery, take it back to your base and get another. You'd get +2 for some period of time. So very handy. I highly recommend doing this. Probably just use that method. Jump on the fence, over to the balcony, run in, grab both batteries, take them back to your base. It's a really, really powerful way to help boost your early game. So there's another thing that is a bit confusing with batteries when you first start out. You'll, in the novice area, the woodlands, you'll come to this thing and it says terminal, and says power bank required. So for whatever reason, I found this really confusing, bit special, but what that means is you want to find these batteries and you'll need to use the battery to get access to the door. Now, you only find these pretty scarcely on maps, so it's nothing too crazy, but just note, if you come to a terminal, it will need a battery, and with that it will open the door. So that's another way you can use batteries. You'll often find sometimes on the maps that have the spaceship that flies away with 2 batteries on it, sometimes those maps will require you to open another door using terminals. So just keep that in mind. Batteries for terminals. Just another little thing that I struggled with at the very start. So that should just clear that up for you. And generally note, sometimes the loot's a bit better in those areas, but not always. So do a scan and make sure it's worthwhile getting into those rooms and using the battery, because it might be more worthwhile using that battery and converting it into energy for yourself to use for your tour. So something to note there. So the next thing we're going to look at, which is in the same point of interest as the last one, is in the border woodlands. You're going to be looking for the forest town again. This is the point of interest that we're looking for. So note that you won't find it generally on the first forest region that you go to. You're going to have to go through a few of these scenarios, locations, to be able to trigger this specific event. So this particular point of interest, I'm pretty sure it's normally found at this particular spot on the map. So I'm going to go along here and I'm going to try remember to keep a MG turret in my inventory. It's really important. So note, I've gone to the small market and I can see here there's a chance of getting an MG turret, so we're going to head to this spot and loot. Okay, unfortunately I've spent the last 2 hours trying to get JDG to respawn or to appear for me, and I've had no luck. So we're gonna have to look at some old footage and I'll explain what this is and what the whole idea is and what you get and everything you need to know for Shaddy G. Now the one we're looking for where I find Shaddy G is Forest Town, and you're gonna know it's the right one because there'll be no enemies. It'll be dark and stormy, be a small map. That's when you know you're on the right map. He doesn't always spawn, but if he does, this is the best bet, at least in my findings. But if you find him in other areas, let me know in the comments. Okay, so we've landed. You can see it's very misty. That's a good giveaway. And there is no enemies on this map. That's how we know where we've got a Shaddy G possible spawn. Okay, so who is and what is Shaddy G? Well, it's this guy right here. Now, we get to interact with Shaddy Dealer G. What a name. Yo, Shaddy Dealer. So if we go up to him and we talk to him, he's going to go through some sort of dialogue. We are going to have an option to basically give him a turret. Now, the turret can be any kind of turret. Can be an MG turret. It can be a much more expensive turret. Once you talk to him, he'll say a dialogue, then you can talk to him again. So you have 2 options. You can give him a material trade, or you can trade a turret. As mentioned, the turret can be any kind of turret. And just note, you can trade the turret, and if you complete the exploration day successfully, you will get that turret back. Apparently, you don't lose it. So just an interesting thing to note, you will get your turret back. But just in case, probably try trade a lower turret. Now, alternatively, you can give a material or trade. Now, my understanding is regardless of which one you choose, you will be getting roughly the same stuff. Now, what he's going to give you is basically a skill or buff for your weapons. Now, if it's not a weapon buff, it may be just an exploration buff, one of those risk rewards that you get for completing each area where it can buff your exploration day or your progress through the tour. That's my understanding. You let me know in the comments if that's not correct, but some say it's definitely not worth it, so keep that in mind. But if you are going to trade, I would trade the barrel because apparently you get that back at the end. But I can't 100% confirm this, unfortunately. I've spent hours trying to find this guy again, but I can't, so this is just going off what I've been told. I also suspect that you will find Shaddy G possibly in other areas that are higher level, so in some of the other tours, and that may get better rewards. Not 100% sure, that's speculation, but we'll come back to that another time if it's the case. But just a quick one, if you're really new and you're just starting out and you're in the novice area, I just wanted to show you that if you walk up here into this area, you'll have an option of picking up a light turret. There will also be another turret right here, which I've thrown down because I wasn't recording the first time I was trying to give the example, but you'll have options of using these turrets. You'll be able to pick them up and then fire them at the guys coming. You'll also have an option of throwing these fire barrels down, as well as these cryo barrels. Some good options there. And you can also run over here and there's a portable spikes. There'll be 2 portable spikes. Just something to note, I didn't realize that these were here for quite some time. So just a little handy tip to get you through, especially if you're very new. Another real quick one is that you can trade some of the items you find in game for weapons and armor. So if you go to Joe Brown, or generally that other trader that sits next to the ammo trader, you will talk and you can go shop or trade. If you go trade, you'll be able to trade certain items for weapons, and some of these are very high CR. So for instance, this is a great turbine barrel that's higher than my double tap barrel that I have right now. But just something to note, you can buy quite good gear sometimes from these shopkeepers. Another tip is that when you have these kind of buildings, they seem to have changed it where you can't jump up now unless you have the double jump. But if your terrain allows it, you can do this way where you come through the top. Now, this won't always work, but this is one of the ways you could do it, because in previous versions, you were able to jump on the side here and then jump up. But in this particular case, you can't do it anymore. So something to keep in mind. So I don't know if that's a new change or if this is just this particular one, but you can't jump up unless you have the double jump. So you can come through the top. So that's just another quick tip there for you. Another quick tip is you don't have to return to base to end exploration. Those missions where you have to return something to the core, you won't be able to use this method. But for many of the maps where you don't have any other objective other than interact with core to end the exploration, you'll be able to use this end exploration from anywhere on the map and it will just end it. You don't have to go to your base and then click on your core and then go end. You can just do it straight from that menu. Really like that. I don't know if that's something new, but it saves a lot of time. Another tip is I highly recommend using your power converter and your material converter. Now you'll get those at your sort of like tech level 2 or 3, I believe. You'll be able to research these. So your material converter, that is research ability 2. So middle level is where you'll be able to get that, or I should say when you'll be able to unlock that. And it looks like the power converter is in the same tier, so a middle level tier. But you definitely want to keep in mind, you want to get these guys as soon as you can. Very helpful. The power converter may be even part of a mission, I can't remember, but you'll pick these schematics up or these blueprints up, I think reasonably early, either in the easy or normal regions. I highly recommend it because it will be able to extend how long you can tour for, because you can grab a bunch of stuff, come and dismantle it, and it's going to give you a huge power gain. And you can do this each time you land on a new area. So each location on that map, each time you go to that, you can chuck in a bunch of stuff, get more power. Really will help perpetuate and get you a lot further in your tour. It'll let you do quick loot a lot more often. It will also allow you to get through the whole tour without having to reset. So I really recommend using your power and material converter. So the way it works is you throw a bunch of stuff in, then once you end your exploration for that day, that stuff will get destroyed and you'll get the power gain. Now the power gain says 32, so I'll gain 32 power so I can continue my tour. A really good item to dismantle for power is those care packages you get from killing those little spiders that jump on you and scare the bejeebers out of you. Those are great. Those care packages, they will give you 9 power. So if you get a few of those, they're great to dismantle. Another thing that's crazy and bizarre when you first start off is these contractions that will spawn randomly on many of the different locations, but it's a fun little cool thing to get you some good loot. But what you want to do first is you want to make sure you look around and grab all the extra balls that you can and just throw them down so you can use them in this next little section, because having more balls means most likely you'll do much better getting these guys in the hoop, because it's like a little mini game. It's basketball, and what you want to try to do is you want to try to get at least 20. 20 will unlock all 3 of these little, I guess, doors that will give you the loot. So we'll just give this a quick rundown. So you throw it in, that will start it, and then we are just spamming these balls in here as quick as we can. Now, a bit slow here with these guys, taking a little while to get them down, but once they do it, the first few cycles, you start to get quite a few good shots, and it becomes kind of second nature. It's very simple. You just want to sort of aim for the backboard or for the middle, just like you would in a basketball game. But you can see we're getting up on the numbers, and the numbers are increasing. We have 20 seconds left. The other really important thing that this does is it will give you power every time you get one in the hoop. And as you get more and more, you will get +1, +2, +3, +4. This can also give you some power. A very nifty little thing to do, because it will help you in your tours. And we're trying to get to 20, which we should really easily get. I think some of the highest scores I've seen is about 35, which is pretty nuts. But for me, it's sitting around 25. Between 25 and 30 is where I've sort of been hitting. So we've got 25. Yeah, okay, so 25, and you can see that all of these terminals have unlocked. So we just need to open it. That will open this thing so I can use it, activate it. Then I can open this one. This will let me activate this. So it's giving me some extra end-game buffs, or some, what do you call them, risks, or it'll give you some risk incidents. So those are very, very helpful. And then finally on the third door, you get access to this, which we've got a copper cup and a few other extra bits. So a neat little side game, mini game, whatever you would call it, but definitely worth doing. And yeah, try aim for 20, grab all the balls, and you should be set for this one. So something I missed in the beginner's guide is explaining the base management in a little bit more detail. So what we need to understand is there's a CR required to level up. So the CR means your combat rating. Your combat rating is derived from your gear and weapon. So the better the gear and weapon you have, the better the CR or combat rating you will have. So the idea is, even though I have this completely full of operatives, I only have a CR score of roughly 17,000, which means if I want to increase this to get level 5, I'm going to need to get to 5,000 CR. So what I would have to do is look to add other operatives that are a much higher CR by giving them better gear and weapons. So in this instance, we can use Avery, who's a much higher CR score. We can use that, and you can see we've gone to research level 4. And this is the same method for all the different base management buildings. You want to level up your characters. You want to level up your characters using the barracks by going into the drill grounds. Remember, you can add your operatives here and level them up. You can level up your operatives here by just clicking plus and doing tours. So as each day passes, they will get more experience. So that's a good way to level them up. That's one way. You can also go to the intelligence center, talk to Nightingale, and put them on the dispatch. You can see here you get operative experience rewards. So they'll gain experience as you complete these little tasks that will be complete after a few days. So after every tour, come back, check, and grab the rewards and assign another operative or the same operative to slowly increase their level. And of course, the final step is, or one of the main steps I should say, is you want to add more gear to your characters. So this guy has a very low combat rating. He's only got 3.2k. But if we go to our backpack and if we just start lobbing stuff onto him, you'll see that his CR will increase. We'll give him a weapon. We'll give him some gloves. There's some gloves. We'll give him a scope. And each time we will increase the CR of this character. So now this character is 11.2k combat rating. Keep in mind that increasing their traits will also increase their combat rating. So it's a good idea to max out your traits for the characters that you're assigning to these buildings for better base management. Because ultimately what you'll be able to do is only have a few characters assigned to your base management, because they'll have such high CR scores. But that's a bit later in the game. And that's only if you want to, because otherwise having 4 or 5, whatever you need to do. But that's just a little quick, better run through, because in the last tutorial, I didn't explain this properly. So that should kind of clear that up. You're looking at your combat rating to get to the higher research center level 4, 5, etc. Another tip that will really speed up your progress, but it'll take a little while to get there, is to be able to get a really nice high power level. Because what you can do then is you can go into your tour and you can just use instant loot over and over again. And you can get quite far into your tour and then you will just back out once you've run out, and it's going to give you a lot of gear very, very quickly. Now, the higher you are up in your game difficulty and what region you're in will drain more energy. So if you don't have a lot of power or energy, same thing. If you don't have a lot, stick to your normal or easy regions. And if you're on the normal, reduce the difficulty. It will consume less power to do quick loot. But all this is a mechanism to save a ton of time and get reasonable loot rather than going to every region yourself and looting. Do note though, if you do go to every region and loot, you will get more loot and generally more money, and it's generally a much more better experience in terms of what you'll get in the end, but it just takes up so much time. One whole tour, you could do 2 or 3 quick loot runs. So in the end, it balances out more in favor of the quick loot route just due to the sheer speed that you can get through all those runs. So that's a bit more of a mid to later game kind of tip. Initially, you won't be able to really use quick loot, but it's a good thing to understand that it's a good way later on to really maximize your speed and get a lot of loot quicker. Yeah, you can see here, I ran out of power just from doing the quick loot. We only got through a few. So I only got through 5 areas on quick loot, and that's fine. I'm on the hardest difficulty on normal, so it costs a lot more. But then what we can do is we can go return to base. We go put all of this in. But the good thing is we didn't get through too much of the tour, so we only get 209 seconds for our recovery time. Now, I spoke about this a lot in the previous tutorial, but just in case you didn't see that video, one of the most crucial aspects to understand is this bar up here that is telling you basically the overall difficulty and how long you're going to have to last for on recovery day. So for instance, if I start putting stuff back, you will see that you will notice that as I keep putting things back, that this timer will drop and the seconds down the bottom will also drop, making it easier for you to get through the recovery day. So at the top now, it's only 174 seconds, making it easier, making it a shorter time. And it also bumped me out of the stages. So what these are representing up here are the different stages. So we got the first stage that jumps straight into the third, fourth, fifth, and as it gets into the different stages, the more difficult it will get. These little symbols here will represent the apostles, the bigger boss guys that will drop and are harder to kill. And then this symbol here represents the big boss. So you have to get enough loot to trigger this guy if you want to traverse him. And again, if we put it all back in, we go to 209 seconds, increasing the difficulty. Another thing I didn't mention in the other tutorial is the field storage option. So what we can do here, and this is really important for early on game when you're very new and you're trying to survive these waves because you don't have a very good base, is what you can do to lower this but still get all this loot. You can go to field storage and then you can drop it into your backpack. Doing this, so putting everything in your backpack, is going to lower your recovery day difficulty and time, but we still get to keep all those goods. So a very handy tip early on to throw things in your items collected in this exploration. Go to your field storage, chuck them in your backpack, lower the difficulty, but you still get all the gear. Because you'll find at early stages, one of the difficulty is getting through your end day, your recovery day, without getting destroyed. But one way you can balance all that out is by managing this bar up here and controlling the difficulty and time it takes to recover. I just want to drive that home. It's a critical aspect to understand. The lower it is on this bar, the easier it will be. The higher it is on this bar, the more time it is, the more difficult it is. And that's all driven by how much loot you have, because it's calculated on the total value in the gold or the currency of this game. So keep that in mind. Super critical and important. So now I'll cover this in the previous tutorial, but when you recruit a new operative, it is completely random. You'll have no idea what you're going to get. And the aim here really is to try get a legendary one, or the highest tier is where you have all of these traits completely maxed. Very rare. I'm still yet to get one, but if you do ever get one, be cheering because it's very, very rare. But if you do want to spend a bit of coin and try speed up your likelihood in getting recruits, you can get them from doing the tour. But another really good way and quick way to do it is by just going to your trade or your shop over here and just sort of rolling the dice and gambling a bit. So what we can do is we can refresh down here, and if we just keep doing this until we hopefully get what we would consider a good roll, you might want to get that turret, you might want to get some of these other things here. You would keep rolling and you are spending your coin, but if you're after just trying to completely farm your recruitment beacons, this is probably the best and fastest method if you have the coin. But I'll buy this one. You'll see we can do a few more rolls. It's costly, but what the aim here is you can get a lot of recruits doing it this way, probably the fastest way. It just costs a lot more coin, but this is very easy to do once you get into your mid game, because you should have a lot of power hopefully, and that will allow you to do a lot of tours and do a lot of quick touring by doing the quick loot function, which will allow you just to get a lot more money much more quicker. And here you go. You can see here we've been able to buy 3 beacons very quickly, and that's a very good way to speed up your recruitment process and get a lot of them quicker. We've sort of touched this on before, but make sure whenever you come after a tour, check the shops, see what's available, because you do get different vendors. They are pretty much random, and in this case we have one that is selling intricate components for the exchange of graphics cards, and we also have electric components for scrap metal. So you can get some very high tier items using some very low tier, more so common things, basic material for a superconductive material. So some really good exchange there, worthwhile checking every time you go on a tour and come back. Check your shop and see who's there. Well worthwhile doing that. Another really good tip is when you first start out, you can insure your gear. So that means if you die, you're not going to lose it. You can insure it and then equip it to your character. And then that way, if you do that, you will not lose it when you die. So I highly recommend, if you've got some gear that you're really liking and you do not want to lose, make sure you put it into your base warehouse. So unequip it from your character, then come into here and insure the hell out of everything. That way, when you die, you won't lose it. I highly recommend doing that. But make sure you put it into your base warehouse, right click, hit insure, hit enter. It costs some money, but it's well worth doing it. Just keep that in mind. I highly recommend spending some coin, insuring your gear so you do not lose it when you die. Also, I recommend not selling any of these other random things. Even though they might look hasty to sell, hang on to them, because you can trade them some really unique or more expensive things that are quite rare. For instance, if you trade or collect 5 of these vintage weapon Desert Eagle things, you can trade them for a red super huge barrel that goes on that big turret thing at the end game. They're very much worthwhile to hold on to because they're worth more to purchase some of the rarer items. So just keep that in mind. Another really quick tip on this is just when you're in command mode, you can press spacebar and that's going to slow time down. Not completely, but slow it substantially. This is perfect for when you're trying to set up your base, or if you need a minute to just sort of strategize. I really like this feature, as if you're playing solo, it gives you more time to prepare, build between each of the different segments. If you're doing the infinite mode, it also just allows a lot of flexibility. So just remember, space will slow down time, and very useful functionality. Now, another quick tip, this is just something that I found I didn't do at the start, is when you are in command mode, you don't have to go and sort and then click on your tower and then go area scan. You can also just go into command mode and just click on the tower and then go area scan. I know it's a simple one, but for ages I was clicking down here, clicking across, and then clicking on my tower. You can just click on this. The best way to do this though is to have all your buildings that you need to muck around with pre-configured and microed. And I'll show you how to do that. So you can do it while you're in the game or in the map, and you can just hit your control tower, hit control 1. You can select your turrets, control 2, that will group them. So I find that really, really handy, because all you can do then is just go straight into your map, control 1, and then hit Z, and then you're doing a scan very, very quickly. Now, there is a way where you can have this set up permanently, so you never have to change the configuration. It will always be micro to 1 every time you do a tour, and I'll show you how to do that. So if you do want to set your control tower to control 1 or into a control group, when you're in your editing of your base, you want to go to the config. You want to you would click on your tower, you would hit control 1, and then you'd be able to hit 1 and it will navigate it straight to it. Same with your guns. If you wanted to, you could quickly micro your artillery. That's another good one. To micro, you could press control 2 and then you'd hit 2, and this basically sticks for all the tours. It's basically, once you set it in this format, it stays micro to those keys forever until you change it. So it's a really handy feature, especially for the strategy RTS side of it. Microing and having quick access to all your weaponry group really makes for a great experience, and highly recommend microing your control tower at the very, very minimum, as well as your artillery. And I'm sure there'll be more main towers that you'll want to micro later on. And just in case you don't know, you can also adjust the turret settings in the most finest detail way you would want. So you can target specific unit groups at certain ranges. So you have full control there, and that's just in the adjust turret settings. So very, very important to use that settings. And just note, when you do set it in the editor of your base layout, that will be permanently fixed to those settings. So if you ever want to change it on the battlefield, just keep in mind you'll need to click on them, and you can double click to select all of the same turret types and go adjust settings and do this on the fly in game. Otherwise, whatever you set it into this mode is what it will be set to every time you go into your extraction day. Now another little thing, when you first start off, you will find there's a little mission where you have to repair the guardians, and that's just repairing these little things here. Just a quick one, because for a little while I was walking around, I didn't realize, but yes, you just need to repair these and then you can continue the mission. The other thing to note with the drones that they don't tell you at the start is that you can go into command mode and play them and use them like you would in an RTS, which is freaking pretty wild, because you can use these guys and kind of micro them. You can put them in a control group, and then you can also like dodge in and out, just like you would in some RTS games where you hit and run. You can do the same thing. So it's a really cool feature that isn't explained until a bit later in the campaign, but straight up, you can micro and use your drones. You will be able to build these a bit later in the game yourself, and you could say get 12 of these things. It costs material though, but you could build quite a few of them and use them yourself. The other thing to note with drones is that you can detach the gun, take it off, and then use it yourself. You can also then install it. You have a few other commands. You can get them to do auto, which is letting them do whatever they want. You can get them to hold. You can configure their priorities on what you want them to attack. So full customization here. This is basically a quick summary of what you can do with drones. Some of it's not really specified. But another tip is I'm going to show you how you can reload old saves. So say if something drastically bad happens and you ain't able to recover your operative, then we can use this method to back up or restore one of your saves. So the location that you'll find for your save files are going to be in your AppData Local U01 or U01/saved. Now the two files we care about are the saved backup and saved games. So if we go into the saved game, you should have just one file here, depending on how many new games you've started, but I believe it should just be one. And then this is where the different games that you've played. If you have a new game, you should have a new file here from memory. That's how it works. So I'm only using one game, pretty much playing predominantly on one game or one account. So I'd click on this folder, which is generally the most recent folder that's been updated. And we'll see here the game saved data. Now, this is your save file. This is the most important file you want to be paying attention to when you're restoring. And you can see here, I have these other game data 1, 2, and 3, and 4, whatever it is. Those are just some other ones backed up, but I can just delete those. Don't really need them right now. So how do we do the backup? Okay, so this is the last save of my game before I exit it out. But to understand how the game save works, we just need to jump into the game quickly. So the game only saves in intervals of, for example, if we go into tour mode and we're looking at the table. So for here example, this is a save right here. So if I exit the game right now and go exit to menu, when I load back into this game, it's going to drop me right here. So if we look on the map, every time we finish one of these points on the map in the tour mode, and then we end back here afterwards, this is going to be a save. So what's important to note that if you're midway or halfway into something, even the exploration day, even if you're on the extraction day, then you have the option to go escape and exit by going escape, go and exit to main menu. If you do that at any point during the actual playing while you're in these locations or in your end date, you will jump back to your last save, which will be at this table. I explained this before in the other tutorial, but I just wanted to touch base on that as well while we go through and explain how to reload a save. So what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly get out of this, and now we can just go escape and go abandon tour. There will be no cost or any kind of bad things happening. Only if you do this mid through, you'll lose everything. All the gear and stuff that you got, you won't get, but at least you won't lose your operative now. So what's important to know is that if we go exit to main menu, we can use this restoring of save files while the game's open and we're in this menu. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump back to the folders, files now. We want to go back to the U01 folder, go to saves, save backups. We're going to open this in another window. Okay, so here we are. So we have on the right, we have the save backups and we have the save game files. So we're going to go back to where our save game file is. So we found it. This is the current one. It just saved just then. And then we want to go to save backup. Now the save backup will be whichever one is your most latest. Keep in mind that each of these can be different saved games. But what we want to do is we want to match up. See how this says A71F? We go over to here, we can see the same thing, A71F. So I know that's the file of my current game that I'm playing. and where all the backups will be. And see how it says this crazy thing? These are your save backups. And all we need to do, if you want to restore a saved game, let's say if we want to go back to some other time or just before we were at that table, we can drop this in here. We need to go rename this. So just for the example, I'll just rename this to save game data 2. So now it's saved like that. The game is not going to read that save file. We'd need to go onto this one, rename it to save game, just like that. Save game, game save data. You hit yes. That is now our current game that we will be playing from. If that makes sense, I didn't say that quite right, but that's the restoring of your save. So we can go straight back into here, into your game, and hit continue, and it's going to throw you straight back to where you were from that last save. So, okay, so that's one example. Let me just do it again. We'll go further back just so you can see that it works. Okay, so we can delete this game save data. Let's go back to earlier. Let's go back a couple hours. Just going to rename it to game save data. Hit that, go yes, and then see how the game's still in the background. That's fine. We just go exit to main menu, hit OK, go continue, and now this should load us into a completely new, so this is where we are back at the table. This is 2 hours ago. So that's how you can restore your game. If you've done something you don't want to, you can just go back into your saved backup and restore the game by just dropping, dragging. Better to just copy it and then put it in just so you don't lose that backup. But that's really one good way to do it. Now I'm just going to revert what I did. So I'm going to delete that current game, and it doesn't interfere with the game because Infinity Siege only saves in intervals where you're at this table or when you're at your base and you're spawned just after the Nexus or doing Infinity mode. It only saves in intervals. It will never save during an actual playing and fighting in the game, but you get the idea. I didn't explain that perfect, but you know what I mean. So for me, I'm going to restore that old game. I'm going to go rename it back to save game data. Yep, that's all good. So correct name. Now I can go back to the game and go exit to main menu, click continue, and now we should be back to the medical center. So the good thing is they do back up all your saves, and here we are. We're right back where we want to be. So again, we'll just run through that again just so you have an understanding. You need to go to this location, to your save game location. You need to also have your backups, and it's just a matter of dropping your backups, copying them, right-clicking, copying, pasting them into here, and then renaming it to game save data.sav. That's it. Just make sure you only have one of those, obviously, but it's pretty straightforward. If you have any issues, let me know in the comments. Bit of a rough, quick tutorial on this, but that will be one way you can restore your save. I'll probably make this its own little video as well as put it in this tutorial, just so it's easier to access for people to search for. But yeah, hope that was helpful. Thank you very much. So another quick tip is if you want to skip that really kind of long intro video, I suggest you I'll put the link in the description. You download this mod. It's just a very simple mod. It just replaces that particular video of the intro when you load up the game into just like a black second movie clip, which will replace that game clip and makes loading into the game much, much quicker. I really appreciate this. This saves a lot of time. There's also a few other mods that I'll cover a bit later that look pretty interesting. They've somehow changed the turrets into the cartoon. I don't know where those are from, somewhere. Probably from Zombies. I think, what's that game called? Something Zombies. Let me know in the comment if you know the name of it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there you go. There's some mods that are already happening. So look forward to that as more mod develops, but definitely check out the no intro video. That will help you save a lot of time overall. Another quick tip that you might, for instance, the tank. So you can fire a few rounds from this tank, but it does quite a bit of damage. It's a great little thing just to help defend at the start. But yeah, you can jump into, there's one here on this map and there's another one over here. So just keep in mind, you can jump in some of these, take control and fire a couple of shots. So a very handy little thing to do, especially when you're trying to defend against a few waves. You can also build some towers around here to make the defense a bit better. So just some interesting things where you can kind of use your surroundings to fortify, and you could almost potentially, I haven't tested this yet, but you may even be able to get an auto loader and auto load the tank. I haven't tried that yet. I'm pretty sure that might work. You would just need to bring the auto loader pack with you in your backpack, set it up here, put in some of the shell rounds, and it may auto feed this. Not sure if it works. Let me know in the comments if that's one of the things you can do. That'd be pretty cool, pretty lit, fam, if you could do that, but I haven't tested it myself. This next tip is very handy to expand your capacity of what you can carry home. If you grab your pack mule, and we'll try grab a couple in this, oh, there it is. Can you get here? So yeah, if you can get your pack mule, what you can do is you can fill it up and you'll be able to actually recover what's in this on your end or your recovery day. So if we get it to follow us, and we'll just try and put it somewhere safe for now. We'll just get it over here and we will put it on hold. We'll grab a few more things. Okay, so I've gathered a few things. We're going to try and get another mule going here. See if we can get two, just to really highlight this example. Just remember, if your mule ends up something like this on your base, you can do another jump, which should try reset it. Yeah, and that's got it off. So there you go. So what we want to do here is we say we want to load up our mules with stuff, and we'll load both of them up, and we'll have nothing in our backpack. So we can really confirm that this is a really neat trick. So or not a trick, this was intended. So we'll get the mules to follow us now that we've got everything ready to go. And what we're going to do is we're going to use them to evac stuff. So this is going to be really handy early on, particularly when you want to, or if you can't get the containers from the risk cards that you get. Using your recovery vehicles, your mules are going to be great. Now you may find that you need to just sort of help them get there because they're a bit clueless, but remember what you can do. If they get stuck on things, you can just control them manually. So what we can do here is I'm going to select them, use the mini map now just to control them to make it easier, just to get them to where I need them to be. We may even be able to use the jump function if they get caught. This guy's having a bit of trouble. What I'd love is if you could hold control and then make multiple waypoints. Okay, so we're just going to leave them up there, and then we're going to get ourselves up there. Just get them to follow us now. So they should come up to the stairs. Okay, so we've got one in. We might just try control this last one. He's gotten a bit stuck, and there you go. He's inside there with us. So we've loaded them both up. So we're going to know if this works. If we go to our backpack, we have nothing. All the stuff is in here. So we can note that if we get these displayed, it has worked. So we'll go close the hatch, and we should get extracted with all the other stuff inside our mule. So this is super helpful, especially early on. Now it looks like they've sort of fallen through. Oh, here we go. Okay, yep, they're in with us. That should work. So the recovery is complete. So you can see here, it looks like we've got all the stuff that we took with us in the mules are now in our recovery complete. So that's perfect. It works. So you can use your mules to take stuff back with you. Something else worth noting that I didn't realize at the beginning when I started playing is that all the ammo that gets crafted and is in the boxes, if you leave it there, that will all come back home with you. So all the ammo you create will come back at the end. You just need to leave it in these in the ammo production things, and that will actually, it'll help you keep a lot of ammo. So you don't have to carry it yourself. You just need to leave it in these ammo makers, and when you leave and do your extraction day, you will have all that in your inventory. Nice little touch there. Again, I did not notice that for a while, so it may help you and just skip a part of the process and make getting ammo a bit faster and easier. So it's always good if you have lots of material to keep using or keep building ammo, whether that be at your extraction day or just on any of the locations during your tour. If you have lots of material, may as well build some ammo, and then when you end that day, that will go into your inventory, and same with the extraction day. So keep that in mind. When it comes to your guardians as well, another quick thing is if you find that you are having them just spin away and disappear like this, they just zoom away and they go who knows where, just keep in mind it's because of how you placed it. So I'll show you how to get around that. All it is just making sure you place it close enough to your base. I'm sure this will be fixed later, but currently if you don't do it right, they zoom around like a balloon letting its air out, and I can't seem to find it once that happens. So they may be somewhere on the map. For instance, it looks like it might be over here. If we look on the map, yeah, here it is. Oh no, there it is. So somehow it's ended up all the way over here, but that's not really ideal, but at least it was actually created. But if we want it to do the right way, we will try send it over here, and we'll go back to our guardians. So to ensure that doesn't happen again, just make sure it's on this white area, and it should work this time. Okay, it didn't work that time. If you're finding it's not working on one side, then try on another side. That might not work. If you find that it's not working at all on either side of your bases, just try to land it on your actual base or somewhere close. Okay, I'm having no luck. Okay, I've had no luck, but you get the idea. Generally, this should work. You should be able to launch it onto somewhere on your base or somewhere where it can actually not do that crazy thing. Yeah, that kind of worked a bit better. There you go. So it can be a bit fiddly, and if you get them landing on your base, you just need to jump them down, and you will note that all those other ones we produced are actually on the map. They're just in really random locations where we may be able to jump them back into service, but no, okay, they're gone now. So there is some bugs there. Just note it is a bit finicky. So ideally having this on a much lower level can definitely help as well. Having it up high tends to cause more problems. So something to note there. Next tip is specifically for the Infinity Siege. So when you go into the dire situation, I'm not sure about the darkest before dawn, haven't got up to that just yet. There is this little trick. It's kind of viable, but I just wanted to show it to you in case it's something you haven't considered or thought about. So we'll load into the Infinity Outpost. Okay, here we are in the Infinity, the Endless Defense mode. Now, what I want you to note is, see here on this bridge, there's nothing, right? We go skip reset, or see how this pops up when the round starts. If you destroy this thing here, it ends the round. So you might not have enough firepower to do it early on, but say if we do a normal lob shot up here from these two things, so they're going to fire a shot, you'll notice that it'll lose damage. So there it is, the signal tower. So killing this will just stop the wave. So I'm just going to give you an example of that when we have a round that's a bit longer. And keep in mind, I'm pretty sure each round the health will reset. So it might not be definitely like easy to do, but it's something you can do. So you see how it's disappeared? Each round it will reappear, but killing it will end the round. Okay, so we're going to skip the reset and it's going to be here. Now I'm going to try kill this thing and show you what I mean. Okay, you can see how I've nearly killed it. Just trying to use my artillery. Now it's almost, the time's almost over anyway, but it's just so you understand that this is a thing. If we destroy it, you'll notice that this kill the enemies in a lot of time will go away. So we'll just keep trying to hammer it, the artillery. Yeah, so there you go. See, it ends the round. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So there you have it. That's a cool thing I didn't know. It doesn't kill all the enemies though. The enemies are still on the map, but it does end the round.